Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda, 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 Namanda. Please join me in reading the Golden Chain too. I am a link in the Buddha's golden chain of love that stretches around the world. I must keep my link bright and strong. I will try to be kind and gentle to every living thing and protect all who are weaker than myself. I will try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, to say pure and beautiful words, and to do pure and beautiful deeds, knowing that on what I do now depends not only my happiness or unhappiness, but also that of others. May every link in the Buddha's golden chain of love become bright and strong, and may we all attain perfect peace. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namandav, 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 Namandav. We'll now chant Junirai. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namu Amida Butsu. Namanda, 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 Namanda. Now I'd like to share a Gatha with you, Namu Amida Butsu on page 174 if you'd like to sing along. We have a very special guest, Reverend Tsuchiya, who went to Tokudo with me just a couple of years ago in Japan. And I found a recording of him and a friend at his temple playing this song on the flute. So there are no actual lyrics being sung, but I hope you enjoy this. That was beautiful. Thank you, Todd. And please tell your temple member, we also appreciate that. I'd like to start with my Dharma message for today's service. So good morning. I'd like to wish everyone a very happy Black History Month. I've been thinking a lot about racism and identity lately. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about that today. The title for my Dharma message today is What Do We Carry? The Self, Karma, and Intersectionality. Please join me in Gassho as I share Gosandai from Shinran Shoni. Good thoughts arise in us through the prompting of good karma from the past, and evil comes to be thought and performed through the working of evil karma. The late master said, "Know that every evil act done, even as slight as the particle on the tip of a strand of rabbit's fur or sheep's wool, has its cause in past karma." Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu, Namu Amida Butsu, Namandab, Namandab, Namandab. In Buddhism, we have a number of teachings, and one of them is that our lives are extremely complex. We are who we are. Our very being is an amalgamation of causes and conditions that have made us into the person that we are today. That person is constantly changing, and we are always being affected by our world, and in turn, we shape the world around us. What I'm describing here is dependent co-arising, or similarly, our interdependence. If we sit here quietly, calmly, and mindfully, it isn't too hard to see our lives in this way. However, our teachings also tell us that this isn't our mind's natural way of being. We get caught up in our frustrations and forget all of the supportive connections that we have to others. Some of these connections are easy to rely on. These might be sources of love, of comfort, and sustenance when we're feeling upset or sad. Some connections are challenging, however, and they force us to grow. This complex understanding of the interdependent self and suffering is a very important aspect of Buddhist doctrine. Buddhist teachers, masters, and scholars often talk about Buddhist concepts as interpenetrating binaries. This means that ultimately there are two contrasting principles or ideas, but they aren't necessarily separate. Sometimes we use the illusion two sides of the same coin. That is, these are two different perspectives on the same problem, issue, or topic. We could perhaps think about these perspectives as immanence versus transcendence. In theological terms, immanence is the pervasive nature of Buddha, or Buddha manifesting themselves within our world and in our everyday lives. Transcendence is viewing Buddha as a goal of attainment, or perhaps a promise or hope that we will rise above the world of suffering. To me, both are valuable perspectives. So it's not a case of believing that Buddha is either transcendent or immanent. Rather, Buddha is both. With that in mind today, I would like to consider the Buddhist teaching I brought up right after the Gosandai, the interdependent self, alongside a psychological and sociological concept known as intersectionality. I see these as two valuable perspectives on the self that can teach us a lot. The two sides of the same coin, which is how we experience and understand the self. We have a general understanding of the Buddhist teaching on the interdependent self, but what is intersectionality? The term was coined by lawyer, civil rights advocate, philosopher, feminist, and scholar of critical race theory, Kimberly Crenshaw. The theory of intersectionality is the study of overlapping or intersecting social identities and the related systems of oppression, domination, and discrimination. Intersectionality was developed by Crenshaw in the 80s to address the double oppression that women of color, particularly Black women, experience due to their marginalized racial and gender identities. We commemorate a lot of holidays in our Jodo Shinshu temples. Like last Sunday was Nirvana Day. where we commemorate the passing of Shakyamuni Buddha. In the US, February is Black History Month, so thinking of that is part of what inspired my talk today. I've been working on understanding how I can personally work to root out systemic racism within myself and my communities, especially in the past few years. The model of intersectionality was very clearly identified or intended to identify layers of different kinds of sanctioned oppression, violence, and marginalization that people face in our society based on the many aspects of our identities. It is a powerful tool of understanding and critiquing elements of our society that cause a great deal of suffering. And I think it's also a useful way to understand ourselves as individuals and how we benefit from or are harmed by these components of our society. Let's take a moment to look at an example of power and privilege in the United States today, broken down by various components in the intersectional self. The dominant culture which has shaped our society here is white, especially European American, upper middle class, Protestant, male, cisgendered, heterosexual, and able-bodied. When I look at these aspects of dominant culture, I'm more clearly able to see where I fit in and to reflect more deeply on the parts of society that benefit me and where I have advantage over other folks. I can also see parts of my identity that don't fit into the norms of our society, where I might experience oppression or marginalization. Now, the list I provided is a broad summary of dominant culture in the United States, but there are diverse communities in our country. So that means that there isn't necessarily one ultimate dominant culture. However, this list provides a pretty comprehensive description of those who hold power and influence in our government. We can affirm that understanding by looking at people in the government, of which a majority is composed of people who fit within the identities listed here. Kimberly Crenshaw says that if we can't see a problem, we can't fix a problem. Here, I'd like to come back to the Buddhist teachings, specifically the passage from Tanisho 12, which I shared for today's Gosandai. Shinran states that every action we take is a result of our past karma. There is a religious or transcendent aspect to this teaching that deals with the metaphysical nature of the self here, our enlightenment, our religious awakening, and our birth in the Pure Land. While this transcendence is important, I would like to tie this understanding of karma, that everything we do is a direct result of karma, to Crenshaw's model of intersectionality. Our complex and dynamic selves exist as they are due to past karma, due to the relationships that we have. We live in an ever-changing web of relationship with others that is affecting who we are and as individuals, and the effort or karma that we put out into the world around us. Buddhist teachings encourage us to look deep within ourselves to understand who we are. And in so doing, we might better understand the karmic activity that is occurring in our lives. I feel that using the model of intersectionality, we might gain a better understanding of who we are. If we combine this view of self as multi-layered and constantly interacting with others who have their own configurations of selfhood, then we might be able to understand others as well. This understanding is a crucial component of building lasting and meaningful relationships and founding communities based on equanimity and mutual care. I've been thinking a lot about these concepts around connection because I'm worried about the hatred and violence that is so common in the United States. We celebrate Black History Month because there is such a disturbingly violent history of racism toward Black folks in the United States. We hope that by understanding the pain endured by Black folks over generations, by celebrating the beauty and wonderful contributions that Black people have made in our society, and the common humanity that we share, we can form a more equitable and just society in the United States. This history is filled with pain and violence, with beauty and love, and is part of the karma of our nation. We can't hope to live in peace and love without carefully considering the complex nature of discrimination that is built into our society and into our government. In Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, we recite the name of Amida Buddha, of saying the Nembutsu, saying Namo Amida Butsu, as an act of taking refuge. Nembutsu requires us to see ourselves, others, and society honestly, and it also requires us to entrust in other power to grow and mature spiritually. When we break down the components of the self into its individual items, like the ones in the intersectional model of race, nationality, financial wealth, religious identity, sex, gender identity, sexuality, ability, and perhaps others, then we will certainly find differences, but I know that we will also find shared experiences. We can learn from both how we differ from others and what we share in common. I believe that a crucial aspect of this entrusting in other power, when we say Namo Amida Butsu, is relying on the power of other people in our lives to guide us and to show us the way. Taking refuge may have a metaphysical or transcendent religious aspect of relying on Buddha to guide us in life. But at the same time, taking refuge is absolutely an experience of immanence, which is to say that our reliance on Buddha is just as much a reliance on learning from others in the world, especially when they share their experiences of pain, hardship, victory, joy, and love. I'd like to close my Dharma message today with a passage from the Kyogyo Shinsho, Shinran's magnum opus, where he is quoting Pure Land Master Shandao. Please join me in Gassho. The Dharma gates, each distinct, number 84,000. But the keen blade for severing ignorance, its effects, and the karmic cause for suffering is the name of Amida. In a single utterance, one's karmic evil is completely swept away. Gone are countless traces of past karma and the designing thoughts arising from them. Even without being instructed, we turn and enter the gate of suchness, gaining freedom from long kalpas of suffering in this Saha world, is above all the benevolence of Shakyamuni, the true teacher. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namanda, namanda, namanda. Thank you for joining us for today's Dharma family service. Hope you have a wonderful week.